Flags Over Texas, where adventure is exciting and history is delighting. The Spanish flag once waved over the Lone Star State, and in this area devoted to Spain is the log flume ride. Guests ride in realistic fiberglass logs propelled at 10 feet per second by the water rushing through the flume. This thrilling ride is just one of over 75 rides, shows, and attractions offered to delight Six Flags visitors. This unusual ride climaxes with a rapid, splashing dive down a 45-degree, 44-foot-high flume.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the very first episode of our new History of Six Flags series. The concept behind this new series is to look into the plethora of historical aspects the park has to offer. Being the first Six Flags ever built, it is important to take a look back at the history and how it leads up to today. We hope to teach you many new and interesting facts as we learn them ourselves. The first video of this series will look into El Aserradero, or the log ride. El Aserradero is the first ever log flume attraction built in the world. The unmeasured importance of this attraction to the amusement industry cannot be denied. How is the park ensuring that it'll last for generations to come? El Aserradero was quite the engineering feat at the time. Angus G. Wynn Jr., the founder of Six Flags, led the way for the development of innovative attractions, and the log ride was no exception. Teaming up with aerodynamics, Six Flags spent around $300,000 on the new attraction. $52,000 of this money was spent on engineering and research alone. What is the value of $300,000 when adjusted to today's inflation rate? About $2,529,191. As with many first-of-its-kind attractions, El Aserradero had its own share of obstacles to overcome. Once testing began, engineers discovered that the runout at the bottom of the final drop was not long enough to appropriately slow down the ride units. What did Aero do? They deepened the splash pool and reconfigured the boat's nose, pushing water away from the ride unit and therefore helping it slow down quicker. El Aserradero opened during the 1963 season, and thus the log flume revolution began. Prior to 1963, this location was home to the Conquistador Burro ride. Guests would board their own small burro and be led by a conquistador riding a mule. The journey was a search for the fabled 7 cities of gold through the Palo Duro Canyon. The only original Spain ride in the park, the attraction was based on the adventures of Francisco Vázquez de Coronado. Coronado explored the Texas Panhandle in the mid-1500s, but never found the gold he was looking for. The burro rider weight limit and low capacity created a bit of an unviable concept. According to the book Six Flags Over Texas, the first 50 years, the current ride layout of the log flume follows closely with the path of the burro ride. The burro ride even shared the same queue. El Aserradero, when translated to English, means the sawmill. Where did this name come from? Guests ascending up the first lift hill of the attraction will see a huge saw. This lift hill structure is built to resemble a mill building. You'll find that most guests still refer to the attraction as either the log flume or the log ride, however. The concept of log flumes dates back as early as the 1800s. Back then, the flumes would be used to transport logs down the side of mountains to be received by sawmills. Flowing water assisted these logs over cliffs, gorges, and more. In 1890, one log flume in California was reported to span over 62 miles long. On occasion, some workers would ride logs through the flumes. While potentially dangerous back then, the concept turned into one of the most popular, family-friendly attractions in theme park history. After the success of Aserradero in 1963, log flume attractions began popping up all over the United States. Mill Race, another Aero development creation, opened at Cedar Point during the same year. Mill Race, however, closed and was removed in 1993. Other notable log flume attractions include Bamboo Shoot at the defunct Astro World theme park in Houston, Texas. Bamboo Shoot originally opened in 1968 and closed with the park in 2005. Six Flags Over Georgia also opened their log flume, known as Log Jamboree, in 1968. This attraction still operates today. Perhaps one of the more famous Aero development log flume attractions, Timber Mountain Log Ride, opened at Knott's Berry Farm in 1969. Complete with animatronics and even a Halloween overlay in October, Timber Mountain Log Flume is still one of the most popular attractions located in the park. Aero led the way in log flume installations through the mid-1970s until companies like Hopkins Rides, Mach, Intamin, and more joined in with their own versions of the classic attraction. How popular is the log flume attraction around the world? Over 45 installations have taken place all around the world since 2010. Aserradero proved to be quite the engineering feat. 2 pumps power the flow of water on the log flume. Pulling from a 500,000-gallon reservoir, 36,000 gallons of water is pumped every minute. Lasting 3 minutes and 30 seconds, the log ride features fiberglass ride units measuring around 8 feet in length. These units are themed to look like hollowed-out logs. Riders travel a distance of 1,200 feet at a rate of about 15 miles per hour. The ride climbs one final lift before plunging down a 44-foot drop at a 45-degree angle and through a huge splash of water, also known as a run-out or splash pool. Once constructed, Six Flags management was reportedly unhappy with the large amount of water thrown onto guests. They didn't actually want guests getting wet at all. Changes were made so that the logs would push water away from guests instead of onto them. However, this decreased the overall popularity of the ride. Six Flags eventually reached back out to Aero so that the attraction could be reconfigured to transition back to water splashing on the guests. Today, most guests would consider the ride's splash factor minimal compared to many current high-thrill water attractions. It was no secret that Aserradero was one of the most popular rides in the park. In 1968, Six Flags Over Texas decided to install a second log flume right next to the first to increase rider capacity. Though both rides share the same drop heights and speed, Six Flags added a few elements to create 2 different ride experiences. Sid and Marty Krofft, whom produced shows in the Krofft Puppet Theater at the park, used their skills to create characters for the 2 flume attractions. Atop Flume 1's first lift hill sat a villain animatronic named Snidely Whiplash. As logs went up the lift hill, Snidely would saw away at a log, creating the effect that it could fall onto riders at any moment. Flume 2's first lift hill had its own giant lumberjack animatronic character. This animatronic would swing his axe towards riders, also creating a dramatic effect. What else made Flume 2 different from the original? It featured a tunnel that spanned down the final drop. Unfortunately, the animatronics and tunnel were removed some time ago and no longer exist. Throughout the last several seasons, Flume 2 has been the park's regularly operating log ride attraction. Its Flash Pass and ADA accessibility, along with on-ride photo capabilities, make this an obvious choice. It also suffers less wear and tear, as Aero was able to improve on previous design flaws during Flume 2's installation. One prime example of this is a longer runout at the bottom of the final drop. On busy days, guests would be able to catch a ride on the classic Flume 1 attraction. However, it appears that things have changed for the 2019 season. We recently took a trip to Six Flags Over Texas to investigate the current status of the first log ride in the world. Here at Flume 1, they do not even have any of the show water going down the final drop. Just something they used to use to kind of signify that you should come ride Flume 2 on the other side, because you can't see it. It would make this flume at least look like it was operating to get people into the line. One other detail to point out is that there are no logs sitting on the final lift hill of Flume 1. Now you would be able to see them kind of over these walls here. So they do not even have logs in the ride. Just walk through the queue line here. You can see that final drop of Flume 1 kind of meets you right here at this point of the queue line. Very nice shaded area. There's the old entrance to Casa Magnetica. But here's what we really came to see. The station of Flume 1. As y'all can see, the trough here at Flume 1 has not had water in it in quite some time, and is really not in that great a shape, period. I mean, it just hasn't been taken care of, and it really shows, especially down there at the end of the last drop. So you can see that typically if a ride is not operating but is operational, it would have logs in it, and you can see there are no logs, just tons of dirt and leaves and such. Hasn't been touched in quite a while. Here's the state inspection for the ride. As you can see, it expired on February 28th, 2019, so they haven't even bothered to try to get this inspected. Couldn't legally open if they wanted to. You can see the Flume 2 inspection sticker is good to go. So good until November 30th, 2019. As you can see, Six Flags Over Texas appears to have no plans to get Flume 1 up and running. The trough appears to be in dire need of repair and improvements, and the ride likely can't pass state inspection to legally operate. We, as well as several of you, need to remind the park of Flume 1's impact on the amusement industry and its importance to us and other amusement park visitors. As you walk around Six Flags Over Texas, evidence of time is quite clear. Buildings, such as the Silver Star Carousel structure, are rotting away, paint is peeling, much like you'd see on the Texas Gifts shopping location, and older structures, like Lone Star Theater, have been demolished. Current corporate standards don't appear to make simple park maintenance and upkeep a priority. What will have to happen for them to realize that the world's first log flume attraction is worth saving? We hope you enjoyed this first episode of the History of Six Flags series. What are some of your favorite log flume memories from Six Flags Over Texas? We'd also love to know which attraction or aspect of the park you'd like for us to cover in the next episode of this series. Please let us know in the comments below. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. We thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.